Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Morin from Galveston, Texas. I'm a double diamond with ASEA, and I'm also a member of the ASEA Medical Professionals Board. And I'm going to be talking to you today about why redox. So I like to call my journey All Roads Lead to ASEA. Life, as you know, is made up of a series of decisions. So I guess the big question would be why I, as a physician, would join ASEA. Well, there were three major decisions really in my life. Basically, who I wanted to be or what I wanted to be when I grew up, who I wanted to be, or who I wanted to be to the people that I loved and cared about, and also what did I stand for? What were my priorities? So, like most people, what I wanted to be when I grew up started very early in life. And of course, my first choice was to be a Disney princess. I wanted to live in a beautiful castle and live happily ever after. My backup, which is the career I ended up pursuing, was to be a doctor. So about high school, I decided that was probably a more realistic goal, and I decided to pursue that. So after high school, I went to Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, where I grew up, followed by medical school at the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston. And there's a picture of me in graduation day with my best friend, Buddy Hammerman. And then 30 years later, when I was introducing him to redox signaling molecules. I ended up going up north for my residencies. I went to the University of Massachusetts in Worcester, Mass, and started there as a surgeon in genitourinary surgery, urology. After 4 years, though, I transferred into anesthesia after the birth of my son, Christopher. I stayed for an extra year and did a pain fellowship in chronic pain management. I ended up double boarded in both anesthesiology and in pain management. I've had a fabulous career. I worked in two of the hospitals that were part of the Harvard system, Mass Eye in Boston, Massachusetts, and also Mount Auburn Hospital in Cambridge, where I lived. Did a short stint down at Henry Hospital in Stockbridge, Georgia, and also served as chief of anesthesiology at Marlborough Hospital, which was part of the UMass system. My husband and I had a fabulous life. If you looked at it from the outside, you would think we had all the trappings of success. Beautiful home in Cambridge, walking distance to Harvard, where my husband was educated. A second home in Clearwater Beach, Florida, beachfront. Beautiful cars. Tons of money that we were making. But the unfortunate thing is that all the money went into our accounts and back out again to pay all of the people and services that kept the things going so that we could just get up in the morning and go to the hospital again. And we really weren't very happy. And the main reason was this little guy, my son Christopher, who was very small at the time. Our lives were hectic and very stressful. And I had a series of babysitters who took care of him. I often dropped him off early in the morning with his jammies still on, still asleep. And they would get him dressed and take him to school. And they would often pick him up after school. When I did manage to get off in time to pick him up, I was usually the last parent there and would quite often find him outside holding the hand of a teacher crying, thinking that he had been abandoned. It was very, very difficult. One night in particular, I was stuck in the ICU with a very sick patient, and I called my babysitter and I said, "Can you please pick him up from after school and keep him there for dinner?" And she said, "Of course." I picked Christopher up about 10 o'clock that night. My husband was on call, and I said to him, it was one of those days where I had not had a chance to eat at all that day. And so I was living vicariously through my son. And I said, what did Miss Gloria make for dinner? And he said, "Oh, Mama, she made fried chicken and cornbread and green beans and macaroni and cheese." And I was like, "Wow, that sounds fabulous." And he said, "But Mom, that's not what I had for dinner." And I was like, what are you talking about? Why not? What did you have? And he said, "Well, Miss Gloria said there wasn't enough. So Mama, I had ramen noodles and a Sprite." It was all I could do. As a parent, I was in a really bad spot because I had financial obligations and I had professional obligations. But honestly, this little guy was the most important person in my life, my most important job. And although I had had a lot of success in my life, this was not an area that I felt successful. I felt like a failure. And I didn't know what to do. But I came up with a plan. There was a local Chinese restaurant, and the delivery man was named Ben. And so I had a deal with Ben that whenever I was on call, I bought dinner for my babysitter's family. And Ben knew to hand Christopher his own little dinner so that I knew he was getting enough to eat. And it wasn't the best solution, but it was the best solution I could come up with at the time. What's really interesting is that one of my colleagues, another physician, came to my office one day and wanted to share with me an opportunity to make a second income. And he was teaching me about network marketing. I was not familiar with the terminology or actually with the industry. And so he was drawing all these circles and lines and showing how, you could share with two, and it would grow and grow and grow. And after about 15 minutes, I said, I'm not sure why you're here. I have a job. It's a well-paid job. Maybe you noticed my name on the door, And I kind of showed him to the door and said, thanks, no thanks, see you later. But what was funny is that I really was looking for something. I just didn't know it. And I was very unhappy. My husband and I ended up going to a medical conference shortly thereafter. And on the plane, I was telling him how I felt like I had climbed the ladder of success, but I didn't like the view from the top. And, it's interesting because our lives were very, very hard. I barely saw my husband. I already mentioned that strangers were raising my child. It was not what I had expected. I knew that medical school would be very tough, demanding, and that residency would be even worse. But I thought by the time I became an attending that my life would settle down, that I would be able to reap the rewards of all the hard work that I did. But the truth is, I was on call every other night from home, which meant that if there was an emergency in the middle of the night, I was driving at breakneck speeds down the Mass Pike to get there in time to take care of that patient. And quite often I had a small child in the back seat, asleep, who would then be babysat by the ICU or the PACU nurses until I got done. It was not an optimal life at all. And so I pulled out a book while I was on that flight, a book that my mother had given me by Robert Kiyosaki. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad's Cash Flow Quadrant. And I was amazed when I read it. It was an eye-opener for me, a real paradigm shift, because I realized that even as a physician, I was a well-paid employee. I was trading time for money. And he was talking about business systems and how you could leverage that. And he actually mentioned that network marketing was a business system. I did not understand that when my friend was trying to tell me about it. And I thought, I am 40 years old, I'm a professional woman, and I have no idea how money works. So when we returned home, I called that friend and I said, please come share that to me again. And I joined his network marketing company. Now, in all honesty, I was horrible at network marketing. I thought because I was a doctor, people would just do what I said, right? So that was a learning experience. But you know what? The seed had been planted. I kind of had the bug, even though I didn't know how to do it well. Well, my husband and I ended up moving to Texas, where he took over as director of the Tissue Engineering and Organ Regeneration Lab. And I was an anesthesiologist and also worked in the pain clinic, where I was very lucky to be able to develop an integrative practice. Because one of the things that I had wanted was to be able to have a more holistic approach to treating patients. And so I incorporated things like acupuncture and mind-body energy medicine instead of just another pill and another procedure to take care of especially if they're chronic pain. So I was on a journey of sorts in that way. During this time, our hospital got hit by a hurricane in 2008. Hurricane Ike closed our hospital down for at least 6 months. My husband went into Houston, which was about an hour and a half away, to practice there. I ended up taking a leave of absence because my son's school was also closed down, and ended up moving back to Charleston, where my family is, to put my son into an academy there to finish school. And my husband during this time actually got deployed to Iraq. He was in the military as well, and was a colonel in the Army Reserves. So this was kind of a dream come true for me, because I had always wanted to be a homeroom mom. I had always wanted to be able to bring cupcakes to the kids on Fridays to celebrate school birthdays. And it was something that I'd never been able to do. And I loved it. So I took full advantage of that opportunity. It was a dream come true for me. It was a nightmare for Christopher because he was in high school. And he was like, Mom, parents don't bring cupcakes to high school kids. But I'll tell you, his friends loved me. So my husband came back from Iraq with a life-threatening disease. And we're very, very fortunate that we live somewhere that has incredible medical care, and he went through medical treatment. Now, even though I practiced integrative medicine to an extent, when you get a really bad diagnosis, sometimes you're afraid not to follow traditional medicine, and that's exactly what we did. And my husband had a very good outcome from that. He was disease-free, and we're very blessed, very thankful. But interestingly, the treatment was harsh on his body and left him somewhat compromised. And my husband was a former athlete. He was still running 8-10 miles a day when he had this diagnosis, a former marathon runner. And after his treatments, he just couldn't even do normal activities. He had no stamina, no energy. Opening up the refrigerator was a major accomplishment for him. And so we were looking for some answers. And a friend came to us, and he was talking to me about something called redox signaling molecules. Now, I had never heard this terminology, this verbiage before, and so I wasn't familiar. And he was not a medical doctor or a scientist. He had a background in computer sales, so it's amazing that I even listened to him. But he was somebody I respected and liked a lot, and he was talking to me about a breakthrough technology. Now, I was telling my sister about it. My sister's not a physician, but she is a medical editor at the Medical University of South Carolina, where I went to medical school. And I said, Terry Latham was my friend. Some of you may know him. And I said, Terry Latham was telling me about this new field of science called redox signaling molecules. I've never even heard of it. And she said, well, I have. And I said, well, how would you have heard of it? And she said, well, we just got a $10.5 million NIH grant to study redox signaling in different working systems of the body. So as you can imagine, here are two people who both know about this new breakthrough technology, this new field of science, and I had never heard of it. So I started to do a deep dive. The first thing that I realized is that we were back to the cell biology, back to the mitochondria, where these molecules are made naturally during the production of energy. So back to the Krebs cycle, much to my chagrin. I also went to PubMed, where at that time there were about 6,000 articles or references to redox signaling in the body. But there were also journals dedicated to it and books that had been written on it. So I was pretty amazed. Now there's over 20,000 if you go to PubMed, almost 20,000 references to redox signaling. Now what we did have back then that Terry Latham shared with me were some studies done by Dr. David Neiman at the Human Performance Lab up at Appalachian State. And what he found was that the athletes taking the product used a different form of fuel and were able to perform faster, longer, go further, recover faster. And I thought, wow, if it could have an impact on athletes, maybe it would help my husband. And so we took a leap of faith and we got on the products, and it was a fabulous decision because over time, my husband was able to do more and more. He got his stamina back, he got his energy back, and now he does all the things he loves to do in life. He doesn't run anymore, but he does walk. We walk a couple of miles a day. He's able to hike and sail, and we live a very full life. We're very appreciative, very blessed because of that. I had gone back into training at this time for something called age management medicine, which is to help people age more gracefully, because we all want to be 90 years old, but we want to be out hiking and golfing and enjoying our lives. We don't want to be in wheelchairs or nursing homes or drooling. And so this was something that I thought would be really good. But it was also during the time that we were using the products. Now, when I got involved, even though I had that bug, that seed had been planted for network marketing, I wasn't interested in sharing this with other people. I just really wanted to see how it would benefit my husband and my family. But I had shared it offhandedly with a few people, not knowing whether it would help them or not. And they had some pretty amazing results. It's amazing what the body can do when you give it the right tools. So I decided that instead of going back into medical practice, I was going to start educating people about this very foundational science, something that could affect our cellular health. And that's what I decided to do. And I love this quote, these quotes by Ambassador Diamonds, Jerry and Marsha White, because they truly resonate with me. It says, through ASEA, we want to live an amazing life full of adventure, gratitude, and wonder with the people we love and care about, making a bigger difference together than we ever could by ourselves, and giving and getting full recognition for the good that we do, and making enough money to be done with it so that we can concentrate on the things that are truly important in life. For me, that's my family. I come from a very large, noisy, crazy, inclusive family. We love to be together. We love to travel together. And I have a bunch of brothers and sisters. I'm one of 6. And we love to get together. We obviously love Disney. And we're our favorite people. So here we are. We're traveling all over the world. And I love the fact that I've been able to do this and been able to share. I also love my ASEA family. And I love being able to share this gift of ASEA redoxically molecules with people all over the world. And I am spending my time with people that I love and care about. I also love ASEA Advancing Life. It's very important to me to give back. And I've been fortunate to be on a couple of different missions with the foundation. This first one was in Mexico a few years back, where we helped to build water cisterns and chicken coops and ovens for people who were incredibly poor, just in a barren area, and make a real difference in those people's lives. I also went to Ecuador with my son Christopher. Here he is all grown up, and we helped to build a vocational school there. And here we are with some of our ASEA family and team in Ecuador, making a real difference. So it's amazing to me to be part of a company whose mission statement is to better people's lives and be a force for good in the world. And yet, along with that, it gets even better because we're part of a biotech company that's changing the health and wellness industry. We have a breakthrough technology that's first to market, it's patent protected, and it's a category creator. And as I said, my first dream was to be a Disney princess. And my princess is actually Belle. And we're not going to talk about the fact that I was 30 years old when they introduced her. But you know, some dreams linger. And that dream actually came true a few years ago when I crossed the stage as a diamond with ASEA. So why redox? Why ASEA? Why not? Who doesn't want to have better health? A better life? Be part of a mission. Be part of something that is bigger than you are and share this gift all over the world. And build a legacy. Something that you can be proud of, something that you can share. This is Vertus Norton, one of our founders, and he says, we're all at the start of something big with great purpose. And right now it's the moment that we begin influencing the future. We can change the world. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and good luck.
Hello, ASEA family. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you for a few minutes today. I so wish we could all be together in person right now, but I really am grateful to everyone